Hey there people, made a new video and I made a new template for fxhash, the board number 3, and it is fxhash template using vanilla JavaScript, and it outputs to SVG. And yeah, I also wrote an article about it. And first, I want to also thank Cat. Also posted some videos on how to publish things on YouTube. And it's also a shout out to Revden. Also to check it out there over there. And yeah, this video will be a bit longer because I want to do also a little introduction on myself and coding, and yeah, I sort of tell tell a bit about myself and what I've been up to all this time, and that goes really like creative coding, making graphics, making art. Yeah, it's really my passion. So first, a kind of introduction about myself and stuff I've been up to, and I put my reading glasses on because I'm getting a bit older and I need a special glass for my monitor to see things real nice and smooth. Well, yeah, I've been born in 1968 and had kind of hippie parents kind of thing, kind of into books and art, and I sold like art as well from around the world. And so I grew up with like Persian rugs and little Chinese knickknacks and old Egyptian finds and Makonde statues from Africa, and and around 1977 I first saw a Pong machine hooked up on a television at a big show somewhere, and I was really looking like, whoa, 1997, you know. Can you hook up this machine to a television, you know, because I only knew television was this box where they broadcasted like two Dutch TV channels and then three German TV channels. You can get the signal by having a wire, and if the wire it was storming or thunderstorms, the TV would go like. And my parents really had sort of old black and white television with 6 channels, and yeah, and then suddenly you could play video games, and that was kind of cool, you know. So, and in the early 80s, these you had all every snack bar or place bars and pubs, they had like these pinball machines you could play, and then these arcade cabinets came up with Pac-Man and Space Invaders and that kind of stuff. Real Pac-Man was really in Galaga. I really like that one as well. But it was like really too expensive for me as a 10, 11-year old to play those arcade games, you know. So I was more eyeing them, standing beside those players, looking how they did it. And around 1982, I started going to high school as a 12, around 12, I was 12 years old, I guess, and it got me a Texas Instrument calculator that went bust like within a few 1 or 2 months. So I brought it to the store where they sold like calculators, and there I noticed some kids hanging around the computer section, and they had like a VIC-20 and Texas Instruments 1994A and a setting Spectrum, and like one guy showed me like 10 print my name and then 20 go to 10, and that would fill up the screen, and then next he popped in like a video cassette or cassette for on the VIC-20 with Pac-Man, so I could play Pac-Man for free, because else it would cost money in the real arcade halls and stuff. So I was totally hooked, like whoa. And yeah, next weeks and months and a year, I spent like every extra hour I had in this bookstore or in the library or this company where they sold these home computers, and several shops would start to sell home computers. So I would hang out and trade games with other kids and tips and tricks the first copying software to make games or to copy games. And yeah, I really, yeah, the magazines as well, computer magazines with all kind of listings you can type in, mostly in basic. And then yeah, you would type for 2 3 hours, and then yeah, your game was running after the debugging, and it worked. And yeah, then the store closes, so poof, it was gone again. But yeah, my parents noticed I was hanging a lot in this computer store. So finally, after some begging and my own a little, yeah, I was trying to make some money myself as well as a paper boy and stuff like that. So I got me a second-hand ZX Spectrum around 84, 85. And first I want to make graphics for games, and games made in BASIC. But yeah, the real cool kids could code machine code, Z80 assembler language, and that was really like over my head first. So it took like 2 summer holidays to learn really machine code, so could really make my own games. And I really want to make sprites for games. So if I look around here, I was making like these sprites, on the Amiga, or no, on the ZX Spectrum in 2 colors, and like patterns, repeating backgrounds and stuff like that. And I have also another old photo of like me at the computer club. You would share software and tips and tricks with other kids, and this is me like here standing looking. And back then I already made sort of demo with graphics and sound, and all in 48 kilobytes, all in people would already trade cassettes with tools, and tools to make a program, to make assembler language. Already people would share code to compress images, and yeah, so and you had software to compress music to 4 kilobytes or something, so you could make a whole demo with graphics and sounds, all in 48 kilobytes on the Spectrum. And yeah, I was also in graffiti and skating a lot, so I can show you this my first skateboard with some sprites on it. I put that I used as a sort of a level, or how many lives you had, so a little head. And yeah, I was really also into graffiti, and also making money with that, for shops, painting walls and stuff. So yeah, I was drawing a bit cartoonish kind of things, making graffiti and stuff on the streets, and meeting people there, and also more like arty kind of things. So for stuff for, and around 88, 89, I went to art school. I finished high school, and I really want to do something with computer graphics and drawing, so I thought art school maybe. So and when I started art school, there was like no graphics department, only graphic design or art I could study. So in around '88 in Utrecht, they opened up a new division on image synthesis and computer animation and video editing. So I started going to art school in Utrecht around 1988. And I got myself an Amiga and started coding first in GFA Basic to make graphics, playing with D-Paint and 3D packages around the time. So if I look at that kind of era, yeah, this is like my first 3D stuff I made and like generative art uh, that would sort of evolve and I would use like a game of life kind of routines how it would change and stuff. So this is like from 88, 89, 90. I think the 3D is from 88 and so I start coding and making graphics and yeah, in 1993, sort of finished up art school, 1993 and 1994. And for that last year or that year, I studied a half year in Utrecht and on the School of the Arts, and also spent half year in London on Middlesex Polytechnics, doing also computer graphics. And I spent like 3 months working for a VR company in London in 1993. And the company was set up by one of a guy who did the first Fairlight effects and studio effects for the band U2. And the guy was also in Bono's class, I think. So he did some of the first studio music engineering for U2 and got a lot of money out of that and started a VR company in 1993, Virtual S in London. And I had to make like these, yeah, it was also the time for me, first time to work with real-time 3D graphics in 3D. So it was pretty cool, pretty expensive equipment as well. And I had to make a whole world or environment with 2000 faces in 3D max. So mostly I would do a scene with yeah, like a roller coaster with 2000 faces, and when you get to the end of the scene, you would load a new scene, and then it would connect different scenes together, so you get a whole experience, and you can sort of go from one environment to the another, and then you have more like a roller coaster effect. And I had to go back in. I started also VJing in London. The house parties started to boom early 90s in Europe. And yeah, in London I met a guy who was making 3D graphics, and I hooked up with him and to make really do VJing at parties there in London. And when I came back to the Netherlands, I started working in Amsterdam for also a new media company doing yeah, design, graphics design, and in, for like silicon graphics posters, and did a sort of interactive CD-ROM for Bruce Neumann artists at the time that never been published, but it was like kind of cool working for this guy. And yeah, I had to go to the army, so I would stop working, and then I got like some more. The army got stopped in Holland, so I suddenly was like unemployed artist trying to survive. And I spent like 1 year, 2 year doing more arty stuff, making video clips for Bunker Records in The Hague, and like yeah, but my Amiga broke down, and I really want to buy a PC next. Doom came out, and that was pretty cool and stuff. So I really want to get me a PC, and yeah, took about 1 year to get the money together for buying an old crappy Pentium 1 machine. And then I started also working as a web designer, front-end coder, and coach web designer, and making websites. So I don't, yeah, I had more money to do stuff. And in the evenings, I would start VJing at parties and making graphics and stuff. And yeah, the internet really came up. So yeah, I started also making sort of my first animations and stuff. Like I have some backup and on my old site here. Like we would use like VRML to show 3D animations, and start working with Flash, Shockwave, and making Java applets and stuff like that. And yeah, I really want to, already in 1994, I started making like software to so I could scratch with image like a DJ would scratch with a sound. And first I made in the early 90s to do make animations, and they cost a lot of floppy disks to store. So I started to program my own animation and stuff, and making sort of VJ tools and reacting to the mouse as well, kind of thing. So I could use scratch them, make this like from 1999, and yeah, would like generative art and doing this kind of stuff wouldn't pay, or really much. So sometimes for an exhibition or show, or for VJing, I did a lot of VJing, and that was really a nice period as well. And I really was hanging around IRC, late 90s, and with other kids, uh, guys, girls, and all kind of degens that were into graphics and coding. And it was really cool if you could make your own 3D engine kind of thing. So I made sort of, this is an Java applet, and you cannot run Java applets really, but you have now this applet runner that can show old Java applets again, full screen as well. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, I would love to make my own 3D engines and do 3D animation and stuff like that. I think I still have some source online here for my first 3D engines. So, and using the cheer applet runner here. Uh, these are not. Um, I was trying to make my own software 3D engines and stuff like that back then. Yeah, it's really like set buffering. So I was doing that kind of stuff, and yeah, VJing was really nice. I did shows, and yeah, exhibitions didn't pay much. Mostly, sometimes they would give me some. I had some good ones though, like exhibitions in Mexico City in 2007, with plane tickets and hotel and daily expenses paid, and having a show in Tamayao in Mexico City. Nice environment. And we would make like animations in Java, Shockwave, executables, and stuff like that, or portrait series, and yeah. And the nice thing about VJing was like sometimes, yeah, you could fly around the world and make VJ for big pop stars like Fatboy Slim. It was really a nice encounter, and also met the guys from Kraftwerk and stuff like that. So that was really nice. And yeah, in 2006, I was really addicted. World of Warcraft came out, and I've always been a big gamer as well, so I was a bit addicted to that. And at one moment I said like, I have to stop this, and I started exploring Second Life a bit, picking money trees for like 10 linden dollars. So I could upload my first 3D models. So and within a month in 2007, I was making like more money. Like my main income became from Second Life from 2007 to 2015. I made like software to create 3D models and also open source. People could download it, like 100,000 plus downloads or something. People would buy my sort of 3D packs. It was like kind of Minecraft building blocks, but then different shapes, like smooth cubes and that kind of 3D models people could build other stuff with. And I was selling these online and making my main income for several years. In 2015, I started doing social work as well, helping all of the older and sick people with their households, cleaning, making up beds and cleaning toilets. And mostly I have like every week the same people, so it's always nice to talk, have a cup of coffee, and start to clean up their house and try to make them happy and laugh and joke. It's a real nice social part doing that in Amsterdam, and yeah, that's real nice. And then at the same time, a few years ago, 2 years ago, this NFT thing happened, and I was sort of skeptical first, like all the energy cost that cost for the mining, and I side-eyed crypto a bit, but I didn't like to use my dear working machine for crypto, so was afraid I would blow up another video card or something, that happened before a few times, so I really didn't want to spare my working computer. So then 2 years ago, I heard about fxhash on Reddit or a Facebook generative art page or something. So I started to make generative art on the blockchain 2 years ago. And that's been a wild ride as well, because I was like always into computer graphics and stuff like that, So I thought like, oh well, let's do something on the blockchain stuff. So here I'm now talking about the fxhash template and how to do things. And I want to share some code and tips and tricks. So maybe it's helpful for new coders to get into coding and creative art. And yeah, it's always nice to have maybe get some good tips. So I'll explain a bit about my latest template I did yesterday. Kind of put it on chain as well. And it's vanilla JavaScript, and it exports draws in SVG kind of thing. And made another copy of the folder, and you can download it also on fxhash, or put also an article about it. So let's see, it's called the board latest article, and now the latest version is on top, and all the versions are down, but you can play it here as well. And it's also minted now in fxhash, and you can download the zip file if you want. And it's just like an it's like an index.html and a fxhash JavaScript file. So what does it do? It's all the source of this is like this list. Does it all? And for new coders, yeah, maybe it's best to start at processing P5GS as a new coder, and then if you get more into it and you understand sort of for next loops and that kind of stuff, you maybe want to dig into vanilla JavaScript as well, because yeah, I really love to make my own libraries instead of using someone's library, you know. And mostly those libraries are really real big as well, and you only use a little part of the library. So yeah, I prefer to make my own vanilla JavaScript drawing and templates, start from scratch again, and then go creative and wild kind of thing. So and first I use also this text editor and a browser that does it all. And yeah, if I click my index, it will open the browser, you know, with the version I have. And yeah, this is the code, and we'll get step by step walk through it. First, it's an index.html file, and yeah, that's really in HTML is like, yeah, just some text you can put into it, and it will show on the page or on the web page. So you can do like hello world save, and it shows the web page, you know. And you can also do HTML tags and stuff like and Notepad. Notepad Plus is free as well, open source. So I mostly use that. A real nice editor. So I'm going to undo. That's also something with code. If it's not working anymore, you go undo, and hopefully it works again. So first on the top, we start on the top. It's HTML and the header head. It starts, and there you put in all kinds of stuff like your style sheet. And let's first start with a favicon. A favicon is like this little icon in the menu bar. And also if you bookmark it, it will also show this little icon. So it's nice extra place for art to show. And yeah, also for fun, I put a frames per second counter now in the menu bar. And I've seen things that it's possible also to animate this little icon as well. But first, I want to add favicon to my page, because if I don't have an favicon, then IPFS will throw an error like no favicon found or something, you know. You can link it also directly to the PNG file, but I prefer to have everything in one page. So I compressed it as a little bit of data as well, data. So if I go to my icons here, I have now this green icon. I was testing things out, and I can also go to this website called to make favicons. I do this now. So I have another one still open for testing, and I can sort of click and say like, I want this red icon, show code, select all. It's for the image, copy to clipboard, and I go to my data here, and between the brackets I paste this new code I just generated there, and when I reload it, it will change the favicon to a different color now. So you can make your own graphics there, and IPFS won't throw an error that it can't find a favicon. So that's the favicon part. Next to style sheets, you can sort of on the bottom have my different containers. I can show them for a while. One sec. Oof. I have like a container for my canvas and my info here. So and where I put yeah, the canvas is not, if you don't have canvas enabled, you get this message, but it's not showing now. So it's JavaScript and canvas supported browser. So my browser supports canvas, so it won't show this text. But if your browser is not doing that, then you can put an extra message here. And save it again. It's also, so I've got the style sheet here, and the info CSS, style sheet info for this text block where my frames per second counter is now. And within the style sheets, you can change things around of the background color or the font size. So I have now, can make this like 200. So now my frames per second counter is real big. You know, that's the style sheet. You can sort of change things around there. Oh. There it is. A little frames per second counter for testing. And I can put my FPS on true or false. And then it won't show this FPS counter on the screen. So CSS for the canvas, or the CSS for the HTML layout and centering and stuff like that. And overflow hidden, so I don't get the scroll bar here and stuff. And yeah, copied mostly this from another page, or yeah, changed it around until it works, kind of thing. So the thing is really centered and shows okay, kind of thing. That's really the position is now done all within the style sheet, kind of thing. And we go next. This is the include for the fxhash snippet. You really need that to work on fxhash and to make it deterministic as well, side kind of thing. So I have like one big index file and then a little index or a little fxhash GS, like a little satellite floating around my big index.html. You can download here the latest fxhash or grab one from the site, you know. That's and don't change the fxhash, because if you want change to like one number or one space extra, probably upload a new version instead of using fxhash that's already on chain and minted. So you want to really download the latest fxhash and don't change that. And next is the whole JavaScript block, and then my HTML containers where I have one for the background color that does this fade animation in the background from dark to a bit light, and I have like this info block. This is my frames per second counter. I put it off for the moment, and my canvas where I draw things. And everything is done in all the animation stuff is done in JavaScript now. So I go to the JavaScript, and yeah, first I have like this, I give a global name to the name of the file, and it's also the save file. This name you can change and also used in the menu. So if I change it around, you see that the XX has been changed here. Yeah, it's easy. It's nice. It gives a version number, and when I save an image, it will also use this number. Well, I can put the FPS on true or false, you know, for testing things out if it works smooth. So I have here a little FPS counter kind of thing, and yeah. Oh, 1 second, I need to pause for a sec. So, well, and next FPS counter I use more for testing and stuff. You can put it on for a while. Yeah, my image width and height, globals. I have some globals in top. They get used all around the site. So if it change it, it will react to it. I have like global variables I use, like this is for my data for the SVG file, and then yeah, it's easy. It's good to have some globals that always have the same name. So I have the window width and height always the same name. The image width and height I call them like this. So if it changes somewhere the image width and height, it will change as well. And then I have more like complex code. Looks really difficult for a newbie, but this is my frames per second counter, and what it really does in the vanilla JavaScript, it creates sort of interrupt. And interrupt is something if you want to check, like if you have your software running, you have to check the mouse, the keyboard, if the screen is changed, that kind of stuff. So I make my own interrupt here, and it goes like every second now. It will jump to this routine. So that is the meaning of this kind of block. So every second it will run this this code, and it does here in my code here. Sorry for my Dunglish and mumble talking sometimes, but in the timer FPS, like if it's I update the FPS here, and I can also, this is just plain HTML, and I write it in this little div block here, the text. So if I put the xxx now here and reload it, it will show it here, you know, and it's just text HTML. So I can also do like make it bigger or something, or make it add buttons. You can really sort of create a whole website just with dynamic website with JavaScript, and you see like now it's changed as well. So I can also write like buttons and stuff and see if it's changed, or yeah, you can really make dynamic websites that way. But I do another demo maybe later to do sort of menus and stuff like that, or having a little interface while you're drawing. So back to the code. This so put the sort of interrupt interval here. Every second it goes to my FPS counter, and it checks if my FPS counter is on. Like if FPS is true, I'll do this message block. and it will show my FPS on the screen, and then I have more like, this is also a sort of request for, and I didn't write this piece of code, but it's sort of how to get, how to set up an animation in vanilla JavaScript, and it will run this at 60 frames per second kind of thing. And you have like every second is 1000 milliseconds. So it could also run at 1000 FPS if possible, but your monitor or screen wouldn't probably support like 1000 frames per second. But yeah, you can try to do it. And here we have another one, very complicated looking, but this is also, I didn't make this up myself. This is sort of how things work in JavaScript and the vanilla JavaScript. And what this does is when the page is loaded, it will jump to this routine. So I can check in JavaScript already, is the page loaded? If so, I kick off my JavaScript, you know? And I can put an alert here. So it knows it's loaded, and then it kicks off my JavaScript, and put another event listener for the window resize. So this will check if my window resized is resized, go to this routine. And I'm not using this right now, but I can say like testers win with plus height. But I also put a little test in the my frames per second counter, so I can do it like here, and it show my screen size. Right here, you know, and this gives the window width and the window height of my screen kind of thing. And yeah, you can also put here an alert like and so this checks for the resizing, this little part, and I can use this part if my screen is resized. I can yeah, adjust the layout or something. So if I reload now, so it noticed it has been resized, and then it jumps to this one. Save. So that's the window resizer. So when the page is loaded, it starts doing this to resize. Puts it's a global now. I use a global variable. So I use this all around the site. And this one sets my canvas. I have a container here with the ID my canvas. And there I do all the drawing here. And if I go on top here, it will sets the canvas to my image width and height. Put it here on the top. And it's very important. I set here the canvas also to this width and height. If I don't do that, yeah, I'll change it later around as well, so it doesn't work right now. But it's really important to change the canvas width and height as well. So and because later in the page, when I scroll down a bit, or readjust the size here as well. Oh, where we go? Here. I put here a random image width and a random image height at the start and change the canvas. So if I make this just like 1000 and second one as well. Always be like 1000, you know, or square. And if I don't set the size here, it really messes up my page, you know. So really it makes use really small canvas, and I really want to have my canvas, and it finds gets element by ID and I put the ID here, you know. So it knows I have to change this one, and put a new width and height in it. Uh, now for the moment it's always square, but I can change it later. Okay, next is when the page is loaded, jump to this script and do this stuff here. I can say here like get my info block. I put the ID on bottom for the info block. It's the FPS counter, and I can in JavaScript I can put this block off. So when I scroll down there, it says like if show PS is false, hide my info block, and if else my FPS is true, it will show visible. So so if I go to the top and I put my FPS false, it will hide the div or the HTML block, or yeah, you can have like 10 canvases and you can show or hide different canvases that way, divs with HTML or containers or menu buttons, stuff like that. So when I hide it now, it won't show up, and that is just this little code like makes it hidden or visible, the div container where the text was. I do another event listener for the key up when you check your keyboard, because I want also have a function to save the image or save the SVG file kind of thing. And I use now the key codes, and yeah, you can put this command active. So if you press the spacebar now, this spacebar is 32, so I can check different keys, what they do. This the different keyboards give, or this is the up arrow or left arrow, you know. So I can check the keyboard, and in case I press the S, I say save images true. These are also globals because I use them at more parts in the code, and I declare the globals on top. So I declare them on top so I can use them anywhere, you know. So, and I have also sort of old school style of writing, maybe from back in the days when I was doing machine code. And basically you would prepare your whole thing, your data or image, or and then together, and then go dump it all to the screen, you know. So kind of linear, and that's all often also fastest way to draw things. Often instead of having like figuring out where to place the thing, I would directly dump it to the screen or get all the positions ready and that kind of stuff. So I have a kind of old school coding technique as well. Everybody has their own coding style and coding tricks, and yeah, some you can use or learn. And like when the page is loaded, it jumps still to this routines, and on the bottom it says animate, and this is really kicking off my animation. So I go to animate, and here it requests an animation frame. Doing animate, and then it goes up to the request animation thing, and here it can see like from every 1,000 milliseconds do run this thing every 60 frames per second. It will request and it's a real technical kind of thing, but this kicks off the animation. And I check here also if my FPS is too. Keep a counter of the FPS, but I also use now the FPS in the menu bar. So my FPS is off in the screen in the test, the diff, but I still use the counter to keep track of the FPS in the menu bar here. So that's why I put it outside this thing, so I can use it in the menu bar as well. And then it goes to this one. It's my own animation routine where I start animation and drawing and stuff like that. So it regressed here at 60 frames. Do this 60 frames per second, and here I go really jump to my routine as well. So this kicks off the animation, and then it starts doing this one at 60 frames per second. You can give it also another name, you know, like my xxx animation. Saved, can't find it, of course. It's also interesting to know developer tools. It will give xx animation is not defined, so it can't find my animation now, but I can make it here like xxx animation, and it will run again. And yeah, the developer tools is really handy to check your if there are messages or errors, or you can check the sources as well. You know, you can also sort of save it. This one as well, save as. You know, so that's handy. The console. It's also on Windows here. F12 shows and hides the developer. Oh yeah, you have maybe to put the thing in the developer mode. I'm not sure, but here I get my developer tools for error checking and extra checking. So and I do undo. If it's not working, you know, I do undoes until it works again, kind of thing. It's also a thing with errors. Like if I make somewhere a stupid mistake, you know, without noticing, and it can really hang the page, you know. Not at the moment, but you see, suddenly things stopped working, and I press my F12, and I see all kind of weird errors, and like, what the fuck is happening, you know? And then mostly I do undo until that kind of works again. Or yeah, if I go to my global animation that I start kicking off and I put something here, and I get also weird errors like, what the fuck is happening? Oh, SDF is not working. 226. Yeah, see here the error I made. And reload it again. It's working again. So often also when I make a mistake, I don't know where it's happening, you know. I can sort of put everything I done between commands. And then it starts really from the top. Like I'll put it here for a moment. So I have my screen. It's working, but I got this error. So what I do, I put all my code between brackets. And I go step by step. I'm going to check, does it work here, you know? Yeah, this works, you know? So my FPS is now in the minute bar. I change here the document title with my FPS counter. This is the name of the save file, but also for my file declared here on top, you know. So when I got an error, sometimes I put whole stuff in commands, you know, with this these two kind of things. So sometimes I really go like, okay, next step. First one is working. This commands reload, and now it's fine. Oh, this is not working. So I know now. Okay, here the bug. This part the bug was in, and works again. No errors. And then I go really block by block. See where errors are or stuff like that, you know. And since we're starting here with the animation part, I will explain a little bit the parts of the animation, what I do here. First I set the document title and I have sort of global animation counter, I call it. Starts at 0 and when I start my animation, it sets the title FPS. Then it starts with this, the start of the animation. Put this all not working at the moment. So when I start, I put the image width and height. Say clear the canvas. I get a random RGB, and with RGB you really want to I work now with 0 to 255 on the RGB. On the for the pixels. So explain a bit. I set my canvas here. Can do that also like 100 by 100 if it shows. And I have to 1 second. And also I don't use the fx rand here, but my own rand, because I wrote this little routine here. And when I go to another site, or if I use fx rand, it was before in the old days, and that changed around to fx rand. And then if this changes, or I'm going to another site, they use more like other kind of rands or stuff like that. I don't have to change the fx rand at 100 places, you know. Now I use just get rand and it gives me the fx rand. But I can also use like mat random, you know, or if I'm on other platform like Genify, they use like Genify rand or something, you know. So I just put create my own function here, get rand, and it returns fx rand, you know. So if I go here, my animation counter is 0, and I do like alert. What's my keyboard? I don't like typing, so I always love copy and pasting. So I can say here like alert fx rand, and it will give me a random number between 0 and 1. And I'm using my own fx rand now with get rand. It does the same thing, I kind of. It gives a floating point number between 0 and 1. Fx rand or get rand. And I can do also like times 100. And now it gives like a number between 0 and 1999 kind of thing. And I use kind of quick hack. I think you can do, not sure, what's the correct? I can also round it a bit. And now it doesn't give these floating points numbers. And I can type math floor all the time, but mostly I use this quick hack that does the same thing. Sort of bit shifting thing, but it removes all the floating point numbers. So it gives me int numbers now. And like sometimes when I draw at pixel 16.16, it really needs really int numbers, you know. And if I don't do that, I get like floating point numbers behind it, you know. So this little thing I use a lot. It's quick hack to mod, same like mod floor. And it will the rand will always, this gives me really a number between 0 and 99, because when it's 99.1999 and it gets floored, it still will be 99. It just removes all this stuff. So if I do mod random 2, it will always give a 0 or 1. So I can try it. Boom, 1, boom, 0. So it says sort of 50% chance to drop a 1 or a 0 kind of thing. So at the start, when I start my animation, make a random window size really, but it doesn't show yet because I disabled this part of the background because in one add this one as well. And disable the whole thing now. So start drawing again. Oops. Save. Try to enable everything up. Pum, pum, pum. Save. Here we got our animation back. Kind of. And on the top I made it real small. The width, I can put it 2000 or something. So I can change the image width and height, and it will set my canvas to the image width and height, and it will make my SVG that width and height, you know. So, and for kind of fun, what I did, always start with a width and height of 768, and then have a random chance of 0 to 4. So it will random. The width and height will be random. So like when fxrand is 1, it will add 512 to 768. You know, so I can have random width and height canvases and ratios. So you can have fun like vertical or horizontal, or having different drawings at different ratios and sizes. I set a canvas, new width and height. Then you have my canvas. This also getting that element by ID, and my canvas on the bottom has this ID, my canvas. So I will change this canvas. And here I clear it, kind of thing. If I don't clear it, I guess it will keep on drawing on my canvas. Not sure, it really messes up things now. No, because I draw the background as well. But I clear my canvas, else it will keep on drawing on the canvas. And because when I go here, I have a random chance to draw a filled background. I can remove this part or disable it for a moment. See what happens. And I make the screen size also the same now. 1 second. So I have a canvas. Oh, cancel. It's my canvas. I clear it here, the canvas, if I don't clear it, what happens? I'm not sure it happens. Think so? No. Oh, never mind. I clear the canvas at the start because in the past it was drawing on top of the canvas, so I cleared it. And I get a random color between 0 and 255. And a second color, a bit darker. And here I have a little thing. Using the style sheet, I do a gradient in the background. You see it here. It's kind of faded. And I can also like make it real big, this number, so it gets really dark. No, it's almost black kind of thing. So I can make darker or lighter fades here. And also this kind of style sheet CSS tricks, this one. I can change the background with the linear gradient. And that's also it's more HTML style sheet stuff. And I can also put different things in it. Like the fade direction make change to right. So get more like this, you know. Fade from left to right kind of thing. And that's yeah, kind of style sheet stuff. And you can also do like have your canvas drawing in the middle and then having animation around it, you know, in a different layer. And the background color is really a different layer in my HTML file. And I set pick a random 2 colors and I change it around a bit, so it makes a nice fade. Well, you have some more globals. I have a random translator here. And what's this is really these lines getting drawn a bit down below, but I'll show you that later. But I can make it like 5, 4. You see now my lines are always the same, a little bit here. Squeaky. Because I put this as sort of global, so when I draw things it will always use this offset, you know, instead of a random one, all kind of directions. This is more like fine-tuning a bit later for these lines that I go and do again. So it's for the direction of my lines. Counter to keep track of things. Go to next part of my animation. So yeah, I sort of clear it, set the window size, canvas size. There's this nice fade in the background, and I convert the background colors I use. You know, this nice purple now. I also store them in globals, my R, G, and B, so I can use them later in another block. And I start next with my SVG here. And I use little routines of typefax demo, little snippets like this part, to create the SVG file. And I sort of looked at it and sort of used it as a start. And yeah, maybe I could have to change it around in the future as well, but it seems to been working now. So I start with the SVG. It makes I have like also this global my SVG variable declare in the top really like empty, and then I fill it up with SVG commands, and then when all the whole SVG file, it's kind of text file, it's kind of ready, I can save it, and it needs this like for drawing it properly on the screen. It needs like a nice root, and yeah, I can show you here this part. I show you this a bit later, but before I save it. And here I have like a random chance. It gives 0, 1. If it's 0, it also puts a background color now, you know. So I can do it random. It can also disable it for a while, so it draws always a background color. You see now my all SVG always gets a background color, and there's a random chance to have a background color or a random chance to have a transparent background color. And you can see it on fxhash as well. It's kind of fun since it's still a recent drop here. Like some 50% chance to have a background color or not. It's this part. Or there's 50% to be transparent. So you can see here that a lot of like 50% thumbnails are transparent, or like with the filled background color. And it's kind of my fxhash is now dark mode. So if I check now, you see it is transparent, and yeah, it's kind of fun trick. And I started making some transparent looking animations some time ago on Discord, and yeah, I still want to have also like make art where parts of it is transparent, so it can be any background. If it gets posted on Discord as a sale or something, it shows like a different background color depending on how the site or the back how it's posted, you know. That this is really the thing. It, this one fills in SVG. I have my width and height 100%, and I fill it up with my RGB, and I use that in the top random color for the drawing and also for the background. So this fills the background, but there's 50% chance that it doesn't do it, and then you get the transparent backgrounds or filled ones. And so the second block will draw the background or not, and set the header. And next it goes to this part where all the drawing happens. These rectangles, and I draw a lot of what's also important is, I'm not sure I have it here. I have here a sort of counter that loops the animation kind of thing of the drawing. So I'll put it here for a moment. Not sure I did it before. This is really important next. Yeah. Okay. It goes to here. It draws faster. Well, I can disable that for a moment. and draw faster. And here I have a counter. So what this does, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's bigger than 4. I can say if it's bigger than 0, it just draws one line and every time. So if it's bigger, it goes to 3. It writes the footer of the SVG and dumps my SVG on the screen. It goes to the next part of the animation, and here I can say, well, do a fxhash preview. And it's also global. So in the top I have the fxhash preview is true. And when it's true, and my counter here, this little looping counter within this loop, if it's bigger than 10, do the fxhash preview. For the thumbnail on fxhash, it writes in the console like my the fxhash's thumbnail is done. It's also a message yeah, to fxhash to make the preview, put it to false so it doesn't do it anymore again. So if it's bigger than 10, the counter, little loop here, it is the preview, it sets the preview to false. And here it's bigger than 256, little wait counter kind of thing at 6 frames per second. So it will here go to the start, reset it again. I can also disable it here on the bottom, and it just draws like my little line and square, only one. And I can make also this loop a bit bigger, where I draw all the rectangles and lines. You see now it shows more that I'm making it just one. And I'm going to save it. V, saving. And I go to the file. Open this also in my notepad. And I see here my SVG file kind of thing, what I saved. And if I go here, it creates SVG file. This is the line kind of thing. This is the header, then the line, and where it is, and a rectangle. So that's SVG kind of thing. Closest with SVG kind of thing. And I can open this in another program like Inkscape. It's a vector program kind of thing to make vectors. To start up as well. Here we got this little line thing. It is like a little black. Anyway, it's nice checking. Like the SVG is really a text file where you put the lines and colors and stroke width and that kind of stuff. So go set fill the background color random, and I draw some lines here next rectangles lines, and I can make this like 0. Draw just one, and I put a loop in this loop as well, so I can also draw faster. Sometimes you don't want to draw one line every frames per second. Sometimes you want to draw 10,000 lines every frame per second, so I can make a for next loop to draw even more within this loop, as long as the FPS is kind of okay, kind of thing. So, and draw faster start. I have a for next loop, so every frame per second it will just draw 15 extra lines, make it even 150 or something. Just pretty fast, you know. And if I don't just do it in my normal loop, well, make this 60, 80, will draw like 3 lines every frame per second, and so it takes like 1 minute or a second to generate, you know. And what I can do is make it real within this loop, make a lot of lines, so it draws kind of faster, you know. But I always have to check my FPS, it's not going down, you know. And I disabled also the animation on the bottom to refresh it. So within the loop, sometimes I want to draw a bit more faster, you know, as long as my frames per second just go down, you know. You see it went down a bit in the drawing. So I try to have sort of flexible, like rule 15 here. So the frames per second stay kind of okay, you know. And I do this like 3 times, so I get a nice kind of balance on the lines, and I don't want them too busy, you know, or not too much. It's for me like a page or a book or something, you know. So, and like the horizontal rectangles is for me like a kind of book kind of thing. And with these lines, it gives sort of 3D effect kind of thing, you know, very minimalistic, very simple. But yeah, it looks kind of cool. And I refresh it as well to show the power of generative art. And with generative art these days, back in the days, I would make like 100 drawings and then pick 2 or 3 the best, and just let random go. And sometimes a nice picture would show up, and then I would save it, kind of thing, you know. But yeah, these days, like there's really sort of challenge, like every picture should be a banger, you know. So that's really the new coding standard now. Like every image should be nice and cool looking, you know. because when people want to mint it, and yeah, you don't want to disappoint your minters, you know, kind of thing. So, and well, I got here the header of the SVG, and here I write, yeah, the rectangles kind of thing. And what I do is on top, I set a new x1 and I1 and width and height. Make an x2 and I2 for the lines kind of thing. And a random gray color. And I draw a line from x1, I1 to x2, I2. And I can say these lines I write, these lines I draw, they have chance having a gray with the background color, because I store the background color on top, kind of thing here. And so I draw the lines gray with a little background color, and there's a real small chance to make the lines darker as well. So if this really is darker, I get more darker lines here as well, chance. But yeah, you want to sort of, kind of subtle change kind of thing. Like it gives sort of light and shadows kind of thing. And I do the stroke, and I draw rectangles, and give the rectangles also different outline colors, kind of thing. Wrap the thing up. Number 3, to put because on top I did the header kind of thing of the SVG. Then I draw a bunch of lines and rectangles. And in part 3, I only do this one time. I finish up my SVG. This whole block of text I dump into a blob kind of thing. It's sort of for handling very small or very large data arrays. And sometimes in JavaScript, if you really work with big data files of video, or you have created a 3D model or 3D world in JavaScript, and you want to save it, and it is like a few megabytes big, you know, it was, yeah, you can write the whole file as text file in your browser, but it will sort of slow down everything like crazy. So they found a sort of way to handle real big files, also megabytes big or something, and it writes now the file to your screen or to disk or anything like that. You know, that's the really the blob thing in JavaScript. It's more technical things, and yeah, I didn't invent this as well. You know, I just used part of the source how to dump SVG to the screen kind of thing. And I draw now this SVG file, this text file I had, you know. I draw now to the screen, and then in the end it says, well, just wait a little bit and draw a new one. So I can sort of disable it as well. And then it always stays the same kind of thing, you know. Doesn't change, but I love watching it change, you know. I really don't like these modern kind of yeah, how do you say, the NFA generative art stuff. It shows like one image, and people just look at the thumbnail, at the collection, and never look at the work. And I really like to look at my work and sort of space out a bit and see it change over time, you know, and sort of yeah, it's really like a VJ kind of thing, you know. I want to to have my art moving and changing and uh, yeah, to live in up the neighborhood a bit, you know. And it also shows the power of generative art. Whoa, it's getting a bit longer now, the recording, but maybe yeah, you can always skip it. But maybe you can learn some tricks and tips here. So mostly when you're hacking things and making things, yeah, like didn't know about SVG commands, you know. So I looked up the internet a bit, and you can do different SVG commands, kind of thing. For this demo, I added a few more. So I have now like this rectangle and a draw line. I can sort of disable it as well. That I just have the rectangle clean. See, now you only have the rectangles, kind of thing. And sort of looked at the source, and it needs like an X and an Y rectangle and a width and a height. And I use alpha for the fill. It's transparent or not. I love the transparency kind of thing, playing with it. You can also say like, well, I don't want an alpha at all, you know. So if I make it now real small, bigger than 1, small loop, save. It draws 2 rectangles now, and it's some kind of alpha. So if I save it with the V button now, I have here my SVG file I wrote. It's a real text file, and it makes like 1 rectangle and a second one. Yeah, and it used X and I, width, height, fill, the number, stroke, stroke width. If I look here at my rectangle, I have like this text now, you know. But I can also use like this. Copy it for the moment. So save now. It's always the same, you know. So I can say here like 0, 0, 100, red, green, blue. It's always red, you know. It made here like a flexible number. So instead of I can also remove the A if I want just RGB, and it's not even not transparent anymore as well. But yeah, I want dynamic colors, you know. So when I write now my SVG file, I can also put this like this, put some brackets behind it, and I put here my GR. Well, that I clear it here, you know. It's the gray color plus my background color. And now it's always light or dark, you know. So I have more flexible. Uh, I write my SVG file in memory in this big text file, but I can make the text file flexible, you know. So I can add more. Instead of here it's now green, it was 0, and I put like GG green now in it as well. So now flexible color combinations. It can be yellow or green, or and I can do for the third one my blue GB. So it's a bit gray with the mix with the background kind of thing. And I put an alpha at it. And 0.2. And it's really, alpha is really light, you know, almost transparent. Even less. I can make it like 90. The alpha. And it's more like not really transparent, just a little bit. And then at the end I get something like this, you know. And what's also important, what I hear, the alpha should be like between 0 and 1, and what I'm doing here, you know. So if I save it now, it gives me alpha like this. But yeah, before I was using like, if I just do this get random, for the alpha, it also works, you know. But if I save my file now, and I check the SVG file, you see like my alpha is real long, you know. And yeah, I really like the alpha. I don't need this as alpha, you know. Also, if you work with numbers in SVG, and you use also a lot of floating point numbers, your file will really get big, you know. So what I do here is I get a floating point, number between 0 and 1 times 100 and I round it, so it gets like between 0 and 99, and then I will divide it by 100 again, and it gets like 0.25 or something, you know. So when I write my SVG and I use floating point numbers, I really want to round those numbers as well, you know. So if I save it now, maybe. Oh, that's the save button. You see now my alpha is a bit still big. One sec. Where is the other one? You see now my alpha is rounded, not here. 1 second. What the fuck? Oh yeah. Get the random times 100 and I floor it, so it really gets like between 0 and 1 to 99, and then divide it by 100 again, so I get a nice alpha of 0.24, for example, instead of a real massive. If you work with like thousands of rectangles or points and alphas and stuff like that, and you use all kind of floating point numbers, well, your SVG files will get massive, you know. And I can for the fun, I can try it now. If I draw it 100 times, and I save it, this vector is 26 kilobytes, you know, all these numbers. But it has nice, all the floating points are now rounded here to a bit. But if I don't do this rounding thing, it was like 26 kilobytes SVG, and then now I do it with floating point numbers not rounded, and I save it now. It's 30 kilobytes bigger just for this alpha, you know. So when I round it, it gets like, yeah, I really don't want the SVG files not getting too big, so that's why I rounded my alpha a bit here, which is kind of trick. And yeah, especially if you work with 3D models and vectors with floating points, and you don't watch out what you do, you know, use floating point numbers, not rounded, your files can really grow bigger and bigger, you know. That's why I put a random a bit, yeah, around it a bit behind it, so the SVG file doesn't get too big, kind of thing. Well, and here we go again. Another part is like make a bit, going to 11 this time. You can use different commands. I added a few more because I use line and rectangles in my example now. It draws line and a rectangle. And yeah, this SVG, it's called line or rectangle kind of thing. There's my rectangle here. And you can also use other shapes. Looked online a bit. You can also say like add another one. And I just looked like some examples of SVG kind of thing. And I create my own name. And this is the SVG command for it. And like it needs CX, CI, and R for the XI position and the rounding. And then I have this circle, and I add this to my SVG file with using this typefec routines here. It will append it to the SVG file. So if I save it now and try, you see little circles, you know. And yeah, I didn't use fill yet, so I can say like fill is none. Add this one as well, and I will add it to this text file or this part, you know, before it gets added to my SVG. I can say fill is none. I'll probably see nothing. But I need to set the stroke as well, and I can here like have stroke or something. Stroke also the same one, my circle. This is like RGB, almost gray kind of thing. So little white circles. Can make it like dark. See, it's more like getting a circle in SVG. I don't have it in my current example online, but was testing this afternoon how you do also the other shapes. And you can have also like a polygon. It's like as a SVG shape, and it needs polygon data, and polygon works with like XI, X and I1, X2, I2, X3, I3. So that's my polygon data. And I make a polygon and it use these points and it will draw it to the screen kind of thing. We have the little triangle here, and I can remove default is it's filled. So if I do now, see a little triangle here, and make it even bigger. See, and a polygon is really 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and this one, the last one, gets connected to the first one. It's nice for drawing rectangles or triangles and different shapes than the rectangle and lines. And yeah, it will use this text kind of thing, you know, for the data. And I can also, yeah, let's say like my poly data is empty. My poly data is empty. Add x1 plus offset I1 plus offset. Let's try this one. So it will draw, when I draw the rectangle and the line, it also draws a polygon with a little random offset, minus or plus, so it's a bit random around the X and I drawing point. Real small, real big. So you can create crazy stuff. But that's the way, if you really want to draw even more, you know, you can say, okay, like maybe 3, that's possible. And a bit smaller. You see, it draws rectangles. It can make them also like really big polygons. And it gets real complicated once. So that's it really, you need this text, and then you dump all the x1, x2, x3, xi4, xi5 in a whole big text file, and then you dump it to the SVG, and then it will draw it. So you can have like flexible polygons with only a triangle, or a polygon with hundreds of points, you know, for more complex shapes. That's how you can like kind of draw polygons in SVG. And I command it out for the moment. Yeah, well, I draw a line, SVG, rectangle. It will add to this file, and then it will write my SVG file. And if I just look at it, what it writes, I can do an alert. My SVG text is getting written, and I'll run it now. It dumps all this text that was added to this SVG kind of thing, you know, my SVG. It will all dump this to, yeah, and even more, can show all the stuff. But yeah, this dumps this text file, SVG file, it dumps to the screen, and I put an it will draw the SVG file to the screen, and then gets the end of the animation, and it goes to start again, this animation counter. You can just also disable this one, and it shows just the screen SVG draw and do nothing further, you know. And it will hang now, stays in this loop, and also at nice FPS, you know. And yeah, if you really want to have a little timer and do now real fast timer, it really redraws fast, you know. You can make it even smaller. Yeah, I used a little counter here. So you can draw pretty fast all this SVG kind of thing, you know. But I make the loop a bigger, so it's more mellow. That you can sort of check it. Oh, it looks good, and then the new one happens already. And I have like here more technical stuff. The save part. It's more technical data. It also uses this like data thing, and it sort of automatically saves it without a button click. It's kind of a trick. So if I press the S button now, it shows my, oh, not really. Oh, oh, there it is. Maybe it was just refreshing. Here it is. Okay. And I also have a key save SVG all in the top. If I press the V or key, it will save the SVG. And here it saves that as well. And here I have like the window name, so it saves like with this the board name, and it saves also the fxhash key, and that's this one, and .svg. So save the image name, included fxhash key, because yeah, when it gets uploaded at fxhash, it will gives a key that makes it sort of deterministic. So if I put the key down here, it always starts with the same image, you know. It's, so if somebody mints it, they always start with the same thing, and then it will go, what color, I'm not sure, blue. So it always stays the same. And if I change the key just a little bit, maybe 4 or something, it's a different one, you know. It's always the same deterministic. So that's the fxhash key kind of thing. And if you don't put it here, it will generate a random one kind of thing. Well, it was about it. Long talk, but maybe yeah, you enjoyed it. Maybe it's just too long, but maybe yeah, you learn from it a bit. I don't know, tips and tricks. Maybe I have to make a different one, more shorter. But yeah, that's just the moment. Sort of this explanation of the SVG kind of thing, you know. And yeah, that's my talk for today. And yeah, wish you a lot of coding fun and creative. Yeah, always with code. Yeah, first it's technical, getting the car on the road, and once you sort of get it running, then you get into the kind of zone, fine tune more or less, more or less colors, more or less lines, you know, and yeah, then the creative part starts. So first you have to get sort of the template, the technical things ready, working, and then you can go creative and stuff like that. And yeah, vanilla JavaScript is looks a bit more complicated than P5GS, but yeah, with vanilla JavaScript you can do so much more things, you know. I can have like 10 different canvases on top of each other, or different layers moving, or you can have like a canvas and then different canvases for animation or different layers, you know. And yeah, you have more freedom if you write your own code instead. You can make your own brushes or whatever. So with vanilla JavaScript, I have more sort of freedom. And the thing is, like, I uploaded it on chain yesterday, this thing, and it costed me like 1.5 pesos to upload the thing on fxhash. So you can really, like, yeah, you can make like movies in generative code that on the blockchain, just with some kilobytes, you know. So I wish you all a creative day, fun, maybe. Sorry that the video is a bit long, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. So wish you all a nice day, good day, and enjoy and have fun and make it a great week. And yeah, give it your best shot, baby. Okay, cheers. And I'm going to end the video right here. Bye bye. Next time.